Okay. So how is everybody today?
I'm still here.
Hanging in, Doug. How about you?
Yeah, doing okay.
Okay.
Good to see you, Jules.
Good to be with you.
How you guys been doing?
Man, bored. Getting bored, ready to go get out and infect some people and get a haircut.
Do those protests?
Yeah, go do the protest. You know, how dare the government not let me get infected? How dare they?
I know. It's just so horrid of them. Hey, Peggy.
Hi, how you doing?
Pretty good.
Got your usual up the nostril view there, so. Oh, there you go. Okay, hi.
Hi.
Hi, Jules. Hi, Doug.
Hello.
Hi, Peggy. How are you?
Doing fine, thanks. How are you?
You're looking good.
Thank you. You too. So, what's new? Ooh, golly.
I was denied by unemployment.
Oh, no. Oh, that noise. I gotta take this out. Oh. Yeah, that's better.
Yeah, they said that I wasn't on the job long enough.
Huh.
Even though you just had to be on the job for the past 30 days.
And you were?
I've been employed by them since September.
Yeah, so that's like several months.
Yeah. Yep, it's an archaic system, and it's what it does is it just has certain parameters. They haven't changed those parameters to meet the current situation, and so people are getting denied, and which is delaying them getting the payments.
But if the rule is 30 days and you work there longer than that, it's not the system, is it? It's that. Oh, I can hear myself. There's an echo.
Hey, Sean. Your speaker's still coming out.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to.
Okay, you take your time. So, well, I'm sorry to hear that. I don't know where you go from there, because if they said 30 days and you work there longer than 30 days, I don't know what that would be.
I appealed the decision.
Okay, good.
That's been about 2 weeks now.
Yeah.
And I copy and pasted the email that I got from my employer, and I included it that as proof that, you know, I had no control over my unemployment, and it was due to COVID-19. And
Okay.
but I'm now playing the waiting game. I still file, it still gets denied. So and then I'm having issues getting financed for my classes for my master's program. So I am getting double whammy with issues.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just going to go ahead and get started with my pre-meeting stuff that I want to get out, and then we'll go ahead and open up the floor to whatever people want to talk about. In case anybody hasn't seen yet, we are not going to have in-person meetings at least until September. They still don't, because we don't know how it's going to work out. Meeting in groups. The libraries haven't opened back up yet. Anyway, same with the Humanist Nooner. That is going to be on indefinite hiatus. The restaurants, not sure how they're going to operate. They said that they can have dine-in with groups of 10 or less, but I can't always guarantee that there will only be 10 people or less. So we're going to have to put that on a hiatus. So on the 20th, I'm doing a virtual nooner and see how that goes. If people want to see me eat, I don't know if people want to do that, but if you want to do that, or if you're having lunch and you want to join us or whatever, feel free to do that. In the meantime, we're still going to do these online meetings, just to get a gist of the people that are attending right now. Is noon too early, or should it be a different day or a different time? I'm open to suggestions, because I know there's been some people that have been wanting to attend, but they've had conflicts with other things going on. And so I just wanted to know what your thoughts are.
This is fine for me. I'm not doing anything except cleaning, and I'll do anything to get out of cleaning.
I don't have anything else at noon.
Okay.
It works for me. Most of my meetings are 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock or thereabouts.
Okay. Do you have an opinion, Jules?
I think it's good. Saturdays is good for me, noon. Usually on weekends I head up to Canada, but I haven't been able to do that in a couple of months, so it's fine with me. Thank you.
Yeah, they still have the border closed, right?
Yeah, it's still pretty much sealed up.
Yeah, okay. And we know Sean's view on a noon meeting.
Where?
I don't know her. I don't know her view.
It's early.
Oh,
It's early for her.
okay. I mean, she's here. You're here, so I didn't know. Was that your
Physically.
protest or what? But
All right. So we'll do that then. We'll keep it at noon and try that and see how that goes. The other thing this week was the Secular Week of Action. Anybody take any special actions of the ones that were suggested? Or I tried to, but I tried to volunteer for the United Nations, but you needed to have a college degree to volunteer. I kid you not. I went and looked, and they were like, we need graphic designers, and you have to have a degree in art. And I'm like, for volunteering? Come on. Not that I was going to do that. It's just some of them, like writing copy, you had to have a journalism degree. And so I failed on that one.
oh,
Brian's been printing up those bands and the shield face guards, and we've been donating them to anyone who needs them or wants them, but all we got a picture of was the face guards and the shield and the bands.
Yeah. Well, if you want to share that with us, feel free. If not, that's okay too.
We sent some out to Virginia for a nurse to give her some of her coworkers. So, but I haven't been. I mean, that's about the extent of it.
Okay. Let's see. Anything else? Yeah. most of the summer events have been canceled. Like the Old West End Festival that we were thinking about participating in, they canceled. Toledo Pride has not canceled yet. They're scheduled for August 22nd. The Rib Off, which is the weekend before that, canceled. So I'm thinking maybe Pride will, but I think probably most likely, probably 99.9% sure that we are not going to participate in Pride this year. It's stressful enough trying to get it set up and participate, and then add on to that part, the uncertainty of whether or not it's even going to happen. And so I'm just going to save us $25 and not participate this year. I think that'll be best for us. And then hopefully at the start of next year, we'll try to identify some additional community outreach that we can do besides something in the summer, and something where we can set up a table for an afternoon or something like that we can do. And so we'll try that. Any comments or concerns?
No, I'm self-quarantining, even though things are going to be opening up in the next week or so.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are doing that. They're going to wait and see.
Yeah.
Okay.
One issue that this may not be pertinent, but that I've come to notice is that most of the churches are closed, get-togethers. And I see that they're petitioning now very heavily to request that the government fund those churches that are closed for the duration of this coronavirus episode. Interestingly enough, these churches have all been granted taxation-free status from various counties, local governments, state governments. And many of these churches, I happen to know one of the pastors, his church has 13 members. And I just wonder about the validity of how we can ask all of the taxpayers, which indeed this money comes from taxpayers. Eventually, we all pay to further that cause. And I don't want to be anti-religious for the people who follow their faiths, but I'm just wondering about the prudence of all of this. In retrospect to some of this, I notice in Canada, I listen to the Prime Minister every day. He has a radio report at 11:15 every morning. Yesterday's episode, he was talking about instead of just giving small amounts of money to the people of Canada, he's indicating that he would like to, with the Parliament, grant $2,000 per Canadian citizen per month until the situation is resolved. So it's a bold move. It's similar to way back when we were talking about the Yang presidency with $1,000 for every person, Bernie Sanders guaranteed wage thing. So there are countries in the world who are making greater strides towards this than we are. And I think it's up to us, certainly as humanists, to petition people like Sherrod Brown and Portman, people in Ohio, and express our desires on this thing, or at least our opinions. Thank you.
Yeah, the churches getting the Paycheck Protection Program money. They have been doing it. I just read an article yesterday from CBS News that over 50% of churches that applied got some money, including 80% of the Catholic parishes that asked for money got it, which that bothers me far more than mom and pop New Life Church down the street getting money, because the Catholic Church is worth billions of dollars. And why they can't slip a little bit to the parishes that are struggling, for their office staff, I don't know. But that bothers me far more. It bothers me anyway, but that just is over the line. And so I'm going to do on the one podcast that I do, the political one. That's one of the topics I'm going to talk about. As far as the payments to people, yes, I think Canada did it a lot better than we did. $1,200 one-time payment is nothing. It's not. It's gonna help a little bit, but it's not gonna help enough people for a long enough period of time. There's some people. I've been lucky. I'm okay money-wise, but there's a lot of people that have lost their jobs, like Margaret, who have no other resources. And like Margaret, they can't get unemployment, or they're having trouble getting public assistance. And so $1,200 one-time payment just is not going to cut it. I like the $2,000 a month. I think that would have been at least partially going towards that. The other thing I wanted to add before I stop talking is that the Ohio legislature is going to have, well, I think they have it now. They're going to have a website that people can report workers who refuse to go back to work. And when you get reported for not going back to work, you're going to lose your unemployment. Because that's one of the reasons why they're chomping at the bit to get things reopened, is because they want to cut off the public assistance. And I think that is just unconscionable. That's inhumane. But that's my thought.
I agree. I'm very terrified. My husband was supposed to go back to work this week, but his job called because the stay-at-home order was extended to May 29th. So he's now not returning until after Memorial Day. But my husband's high risk. He has a heart stent, he has asthma, he has edema. And, if you're going to go and you're going to take their temperature and there's going to be face masks, but how can you guarantee they're going to stay 6 feet apart in a factory? You can't. They're working on parts. They're working on machines. They're, channeling out a product, and you may have to work in close proximity with someone. And the face masks and stuff are only a precautionary measure. They're not there to stop it.
I
think
see that. Excuse me.
no, go ahead, Jules.
I see that the president is urging the automobile manufacturers to get back to work. And I have a few friends in Windsor, Ontario that belong to the CAW, Canadian Auto Workers, and also the UAW in Detroit. I don't know what the prudence of that is. If they could go back to work and make cars and everybody could buy a car, great. But the stockpile of unsold cars is tremendous. And I'm wondering what more incentives could the auto industry offer. I see that you can now get a deferment of 4 months when you buy a new car. You don't have to make payments for 4 months. In addition to that, you get 6 years with no interest. I think the next move would be just for Detroit and other places to give away their cars. I don't see any idea. Also, let's keep in mind that UAW people and the CAW are under union contract, and they are being recompensed for their downtime. So it's not like this part of this segment of our industry needs to get back to work. Just an opinion. I know there's both sides to that. Thank you.
Did you want to say something, Sean?
Well, a part of this pandemic that I have kind of started paying more attention to is the mental health aspects of it. And I think that speaks to why people aren't going back to work. Yes, there will be some people who are like, oh, well, if I can live like this without having to work, sure, that sounds great. But I think that those people are few and far between. Those are not the individuals that are going to overall affect the economy. But there's real crisis happening internally with people. The fear of going back to work and becoming infected, infecting other people, bringing all of that home. And I think that it's a bit much for people. They're realizing the severity of this virus, that it is killing people. By now, I think probably everyone is no longer just seeing the death toll as a graph on the evening news. It's affecting people in their communities. They see now someone I know has this, someone is suffering from it, someone has died from it, someone that I know. And it has become a real fear for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think that on top of the economic aspect, which is much broader and much more profound than I think people are talking about. It's not that you go to work and sure, all the customers will be there. Well, a lot of them won't be, either because they're afraid to be there or because they have no money to spend. So, I mean, this idea that you're going to get people back to work and then things are going to brightly shine again. I mean, the problem is a lot more complex than that. I mean, it's the fear that Sean just talked about, and it's also not having any darn money to spend. So where in the world are people going to be going? I mean, maybe to things that are free, like maybe going to the beaches, outdoor activities that don't cost much money, but that's not going to do anything for the economy. And it's also going to be dangerous for spread. So, I mean, the combination of problems are a lot more profound and complicated. And this economy is not going to get back on its feet just because people decide to go out and do stuff without money and without the security to know that it's safe to do so. People aren't going to do it. So,
Well, a lot of people that I talk to are afraid of a second wave.
oh yeah,
And,
yeah, of
and
course.
my friend who is at St. Anne's, he made it through. We had gotten word that he wasn't going to last through the night 3 weeks ago, Wednesday, and he made it through, and now he's off the ventilator again, but he still has a long road to recovery. You know, his lungs are so damaged that it's, and I'm getting, second and third hand information. So I really don't know the extent. I'm only going by what I read through articles and things. And I expected, this to be a long. I have another friend who's waiting results of her test, and she's in self-isolation from her husband, who's had cancer and is high risk. And they live with his parents, so now she's got to, consider them. And so she's in a room by herself, and it's taxing mentally and physically.
Sure. Well, I'm glad he made it that as far as he has. I was really wondering about your friend when you said he was on dialysis and a lot of lung damage and been on the vent so long. So that's really a victory that he's gotten this far. I'm glad to hear it.
Thank you. I take the little things day by day, and no news is good news.
Yeah.
Well, and Jules, you were talking about how the Canadian government is guaranteeing a monthly payment for income. And I think that could go a long way in helping secure the mental health of some people, knowing that, okay, I'm not okay with this one payment today, but I'm going to be okay next month financially. I will have enough money to pay my rent. Instead, in America, we're like, well, maybe I have to put myself and everyone I love at risk in order to go back to work and make enough money to pay my rent so that I'm not then homeless, or pay my other bills and have enough food to feed my family. This reactionary government that we have sets people up for a lot of mental health issues, a lot of anxiety.
Yeah.
Hey, Ed, welcome.
Hi, Ed.
Hi, Ed.
Hello.
Can you hear us? Ed, can you hear anything? I don't think Ed can hear us. Nope.
It's Jules again. I just wanted to mention that in my attempts to avoid people, and it's hard. I love people. I love meeting and talking and doing what we do. But I have ordered my groceries online, and it works very well. A little bit more expensive, with the delivery charge and the tip and everything, but it does work.
Okay. No, Ed can't hear us.
Yeah, as far as delivery fees, I've avoided those by going to Kroger and pull into the pickup bay, and I pop my trunk and they put the groceries in my trunk, and I close my trunk and drive away. So that's what I've been doing, all fully masked and everything. So
How long has it been taking recently?
what part of it?
From the time you order to the time you pick it up?
Oh, I always go once a week. That works for me. So I set it up a week in advance and go once a week.
Okay.
Yeah, I tried the Walmart, and they were like, I couldn't schedule 2 to 3 days out even, because they had no times available.
Well,
So-
no, Kroger doesn't either. I mean, that's why you do it a week in advance.
Right.
You can't just order and go run and get it. That doesn't work.
No.
Not now. It doesn't. Yeah.
So I go once a week. I got my regular time. I do my list. The day before I go, I check it, make sure everything's on it that I want. And then every Friday I'm there, and they load up my trunk and off I go. But no, for something you decide you need right away and want to run and get it, that won't work.
Peggy, this is Jules. I was going to ask you, when you do that online, do they tell you if there's something out of stock and then offer you an alternate choice?
Yeah, they do.
Okay, yeah, that's a good thing. I've been doing that with Aldi's, but I'm doing through Instacart. So
okay.
it's going to run you, over like 10% more than what the thing is.
Oh.
Is there any surcharge involved when you go
Oh,
through?
no, not at all. They don't charge you anything.
Super.
Yeah, not right now anyway.
Well, not right now, no. Prior to all this, they charged $5 for this, but they're waiving that fee these days.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, and the coupons and whatever, those all still work. When you pull in, they ask if you got any paper coupons.
Oh, and Kroger is also accepting SNAP cards.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, I heard that. I should have mentioned that. So yeah, the prices I think are reasonable. They're regular Kroger prices, and I've got my little Kroger shoppers card, so I get a little bit off on that. So I would recommend them. I'm doing fine with them. I haven't tried any of the other stores yet.
Speaking of prices, have you noticed a great flux in the cost of gasoline? It was just like so incredibly low a week or two
Yeah.
ago. I
Yep.
see it creeping up now.
Yeah.
Just wanted to tell you all that my car is fantastic. I'm getting about 3 weeks per gallon now.
Yeah, I filled my tank in March. It's not even half empty yet.
Yeah. Yeah, people, friends of mine were saying, gas is so cheap, but there's no place to go.
Yeah, I was saying that to Brian earlier because, he's got the time off and it'd be great to go out and do something together. And it's like, we can't.
Well, I guess
And
the
I'm
parks
jonesing
are
for
open.
board games. So,
Well, yeah, you got your board games, and also, I know people are going out in the parks.
yeah, I only have my husband to play board games with. I can only beat him so much.
Oh,
On a happier note, I wanted to bring up that I have been, when the weather is nice or warmer, I try to ride my bike just in my neighborhood.
okay.
And it's one lap is about 2.5 miles. And I don't know, I've seen, I've done this for years since I've been living in Northwood, but I see such a spirit among the people. Everybody waves, and it's just like little kids are waving. And I guess, we've all had cabin fever with this lockdown and staying in the house, playgrounds being closed and parks and whatnot. So I think on a humanistic thing, this is bringing people together, even though we're apart in such a beautiful way. Just a comment that I make. Thank you.
Yeah, that is nice.
Well, I found in the general community, away from retail situations, people are friendly and a little bit more patient. I found though that in retail situations, people seem to be very tense if everybody wants to get in, get out, and keep everybody away. But then there are some people who are not following that social distancing, and I don't know if they just refuse and they're being difficult, or if they don't understand their proximity to others. And then they get kind of irritated when people say, hey, could you back up a little?
I think it's hard. I think it's hard too to see a smile and return a smile when we're wearing face masks. I think that there is something to be said about that. The full facial contact. So that may be contributing a bit. On another note, I noticed that the tension in places in Michigan with the commandeering of the state house with armed people in the driveway of Governor Gretchen at her home with threatening signs and whatnot. There's a lot to be reconciled here. I don't know how that's going to work. I think that probably there are powers that be within our government who are going to continue to promote that. And that is going to be our obstacle for moving forward as humanists. Thank you.
Sean, I can offer another perspective to what you were saying. I have 2 family members who wholeheartedly believe the Cheeto and the White House. And when he has said this was a hoax, this was a joke, or this, this, that, or whatever he has said, they believe that it's going to be that it's actually going to be over with during the summer, because it's going to the heat of the summer is going to get rid of the virus, and that everything's going to be fine and go back to normal. I have to constantly make sure that my father does not go out where there are people, because he has COPD and he would not survive. And I've gotten into arguments over what was the one drug that I can't pronounce the name of it.
Hydrochloroquine.
Yes, my father thought that was going to be the cure-all drug, and I went terrified that he was going to go out and try and find it and take it.
Well, that would have finished him off. I mean, I'm sorry, but that's
Yeah,
very bad for
I know.
heart and lung patients. Yeah.
He would have died.
Yeah.
But it would have been from COVID-19.
No, it would have
There
been
you
from stupidity.
Aha, that'll teach them.
But there's also a tenet of fascism that follows that same strain, where the strong survive, and well, like Trump has bragged about his good genes. Well, as soon as he knew it was in the White House, he was screaming like a little banshee. But
Yeah,
But
and they get tested regularly.
right, but what I'm saying is that whole fascist concept, though, of the strong will survive and the rest of the weak can just fall away. And so this is just going to purge our country of the weaklings, and don't worry about it, we'll be fine. And so there's really a strong strain of that in the language that you're hearing in these anti-mask people. And
Well, not only that, too, is where is the outrage about the mass deaths in the nursing homes?
there just isn't, not among them.
No,
But, yeah.
no, that is something that needs to be investigated. But again, it's not surprising, because they try to do it on the cheap as much as possible, and then they wonder why that happens. When you're mass housing older people with compromised immunity systems, and then you introduce a virus, and then they wonder why there's mass deaths. That's why. It's because they're warehousing people instead of trying to take care of them.
Well, and even in a well-run nursing home, you've got low-income people coming and going as the caregivers. And even if they're doing everything right, washing their hands well and following the precautions that were considered to be adequate before this started, a well-run nursing home is still going to be a hotbed of contamination, because there's so many people coming from the outside in, all those caregivers. Then they go back to their families, and some of them some of them are married to people who work at factories, factory farms, all that. I mean, it's any place you've got congregate living, you've got danger. And that includes nursing homes, any workplaces where people are working close together, and also prisons, halfway houses, homeless shelters, you name it. They're all going to be hotbeds.
Those are good points, Peggy. I had listened to the mayor of Detroit the other day, and he's doing quite a job. Now, he has, within the last 10 days, I think it's 10 days, has completed testing every person in a rest home or care facility, including the help. The irony here is that unless you test every day, your status is not known. I
Tested today, positive tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like President Trump gets tested every morning, and certainly part of his staff probably do too. But that's impossible for the rest of us. We do not know where it's lurking next, where the next person we meet on the street anywhere is going to be the one that will give us coronavirus. I mean,
that's why I'm listening to Lori Garrett and people like that who are experts in this, the Pulitzer Prize winning. I mean, she wrote about Ebola, and I mean, she's been doing this kind of reporting for 20 years and said that, yeah, testing is fine, but it has to be strategic testing. I mean, you test a nursing home or whatever you're testing, you find 50 cases. Well, then you have to know what you're going to do about that.
Yeah.
How are you going to what's the next step? Testing people every day to kind of watch it happen is not, there's nothing strategic in that. I mean, you need the testing, but then you need the next step on what exactly you're going to do with that information and how are you going to, you know.
There was an interesting thing on television last night, and it showed a chicken packing house in Indiana, and it was a nighttime, I believe, a nighttime aerial, and it showed the radio or the telephone waves coming out, and what it was depicting was that the people who had cell phones turned on were shown to be in that facility. They tracked this facility for a week and tracked those telephones, and those telephones had reached out had the person carrying those phones had actually been in 5 different states.
Yeah.
One of them as far away as California. And with Mother's Day coming up, they think that there'll be even more travel. Here's the irony. In that plant in Indiana, there's 900 people already known to have the virus. So I don't know how many people work there. I would expect several thousand. But these meatpacking plants, that's the next hurdle, I think. We're going to have to be prepared, although the president did call for them all to remain working. I think we're going to have to be prepared for a very big shortage of meat in the country. And it's hard for Americans to adapt to that kind of, that type of thing that happens to us. But we're going to have to do it. I mean, we've seen shortages before. The toilet paper thing was just almost laughable as to what you can consider would be the next shortage. And maybe
yeah, but it's not going to just be meat, though, too. You think about vegetables. I mean, how are our vegetables harvested? I mean, migrant workers living in migrant camps together and going out. Sure, when they're out in the fields, they're separated apart, but then they go and live in these congregate living shacks and
Yes.
other dormitories. So that's another place where you can expect.
Exactly.
Same thing.
I belong to a group called the Immokalee Farmer Workers Union group, and it monitors the way that they've been treated over the years. I lived in South Florida for years, and I've been many times to these places and watched and saw the actual hovels where they live and how they live. But lately, what we've seen is the city or the town of Immokalee, Florida, which is a farm town, has actually went in and started to make sure that these people had running water, hot water and soap, and masks. So perhaps some of that will be alleviated. But, when you take the broad spectrum of all the growers in Texas and Florida, Arizona and California, it's doubtful. We're going to have a problem with vegetable and fruit distribution, I'm sure. Coupled with that, the truck drivers who are also victims because they travel from state to state delivering this. But it's probably going to get worse before it gets better. That's the sad reality. Thank you.
Can you hear us now, Ed?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Hey,
Yeah.
there you go.
Problems with headsets. I left my plug-in headset at work, so
Oh,
I was playing with Bluetooth and that wasn't working, and just had a hard time connecting.
Ed, you look good and you sound good too. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Jules, it looks like you've had a haircut.
Who? Me?
Jules.
Well, and Ed.
Not me.
No, I went up to my bathroom the other day and looked in the mirror, and being not a dentist, I've never been able to work in a mirror before, and I started to trim my hair, There's a huge patch in the back that's gone completely.
Yeah, I have that problem too, but it's natural.
I admire your courage. There's no way I would try to cut my own hair. I mean, it was, yeah. I haven't cut my own hair since I was 3 years old, and that didn't work out well. So I don't know.
So did you go back to work this week, Ed?
I went back to work last week.
How's it going?
Going good. They're making us wear masks. They got hand sanitizer all over the place. Trying to keep people separated. It's actually going okay.
What kind of work do you do, Ed? What kind
I
of
work at the Cooper tire plant.
Oh, okay, okay.
So I'm an analyst, machinery analyst. I'm a permanent contract worker for Cooper right now.
Okay.
They're semi-permanent, I guess. So the next time they lay me off.
All I can say, Ed, is they've got a terrible pun. You were retired, and now you're tired again.
That's exactly right.
Oh,
3 weeks sitting at home and then going back to work was quite a culture shock.
ah. Well, good for you.
Yes, it helps. Since I've only gotten one unemployment check and I'm not going to be getting any more. So I went home on when I was laid off to back home in New York. Spent 3 weeks from now, actually 4 weeks, because the first week we worked remotely until we ran out of paperwork to do. And then they laid us all off. So then I came back here and went to work the next day. So that was, like I said, a culture shock. Used to being home cooking and doing a honey-do list and everything else. So
The only good news I have for you, Ed, is that my daughter completely wore out a set of tires here about 2 weeks ago. And
good.
she refused to buy Chinese tires, which is what Walmart offered her. And I told her, I says, get some Coopers. I says, it'll help Ohio. So she has a new set of Coopers on her little
All
tire.
right.
All right.
Yeah, because Cooper just lost. I think they lost 20% of their sales, and their first quarter was a loss. So they're whining right now. But
Yeah, Marathon lost like $9 billion or something like that
yeah,
in the quarter.
Well, hopefully people need tires.
So-
That's not something you're going to scrimp on.
Yeah.
hopefully.
Yeah, there are a lot of other things you might think twice about buying, but you need tires, you'll buy them. So that's good.
You got to buy tires. That's right. But I did have that problem because I have tires, but they don't make the size to fit my car.
Oh.
So the only ones that did was the Korean and Japanese tires. So that
Oh.
I was sort of stuck. So I just don't show them off to people at work.
Well, they ought to custom make you some.
Yeah, there you go. I was holding out as long as I could, hoping they'd expand their line or something, but nothing fit.
Do they make you park
Pardon me?
there out in the outer parking lot because you don't have Cooper
No,
tires?
nobody's noticed yet. Nobody's noticed yet. So far I'm okay.
They used to do that. My dad worked at the Toledo machining plant at Chrysler in Perrysburg.
Uh-huh.
And if you drove anything other than one of the big three manufacturers, well, I guess there was back then in the 70s, there were a few more, AMC and whatnot. But if you drove anything that was not, American made, you had to park out in the back lot. And you still risked getting your car damaged.
Yeah, we had a GM plant in Syracuse. It was the same way there. That you had to have an American car. Or you parked in the worst lot.
Yeah. But now even the American cars are made overseas. So
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of the foreign names are made here.
right.
Yeah.
Yep. Honda and Toyotas.
Yeah.
Nissan.
Volkswagen.
Yep. So even like 49% of Harleys the parts are manufactured overseas.
Yeah, sad. Actually, I understand trying to save money, but still sad all the jobs that went away with that.
Well, and I guess, I look at it, it's a double-edged sword, because not only
Yeah,
are
it is.
people here losing money, losing jobs, but they're taking advantage of the people who are willing to work for, poor wages and no health
Yes.
care and poor working conditions. So it's horrible on both sides of that.
Yeah.
Well, I have been I got some tools, and
Yeah.
I've been planning some projects. We managed to get a washer, so I'm going to build a shelf for our laundry room to
There you
corral
go.
the kitty cat litter boxes
Okay.
and give us some decorative edging. And we're going to do a pantry in the kitchen. And
Well, that's good.
I'm only, of my 3 individuals that I usually work with, I've only got one that I can work with right now. And she's only eligible for 10 hours a week. So I've got extra time on my hands, I guess.
Well, most of you saw my new addition to my living room. I got a board game shelving unit.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you posted that on, I think, Facebook or someplace.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw those stacks and stacks of games. So you got a place to put them now.
Yeah. Now that comes with all the stuff that I had previously on the shelves. I need to find a new place for them. Because all the board games are taking up the shelves.
Oh, okay.
Where'd you get the shelving?
What's that?
Where did you get the shelving?
My daughter's job, she works out for Tron Air out at the airport, and they were getting rid of the shelves, and they allowed the employees to take them.
Nice.
So she got them for us.
Yeah, because they
So,
look
which is
really
nice.
beefy and they're not cheap. That's for sure.
Yes, they're not cheap, and they're very heavy, and I'm very happy with it. It's very imposing when you look at it, because it's floor to ceiling.
Wow.
Yeah, and but I've been slowly whittling away at some of the clutter that I have, and arguing with my husband about it, because I know it's clutter, and I know I have to get rid of it, but it's got to be my decision. Just leave me alone about it.
Well, move. That'll get rid of your clutter.
He won't move. We've had this discussion several times.
I love clutter. I have got my own, of course, but I watch Hoarders. Now that is clutter.
Yeah.
The TV program
Yeah.
Hoarders. Oh my word!
My mom was a hoarder, and
Really?
oh,
It was hard when
it was hard when she
moving
her
into
a small 1-bedroom apartment was difficult, and then she managed to cram that place full of stuff. And after she died, I got rid of so much stuff, but it was really hard to get rid of it because she didn't have it all organized. She'd have a box of books and have special little trinkets in the box of books, and then she'd have just some different like craft things, and then I'd find an important piece of paper stuffed in all that. So I couldn't just say, this is books, and get rid of it, because there was personal stuff in everything.
It's called surprise. What's in that box? Surprise.
Yeah, I've had friends of mine watch that show. I've seen it a few times, and it's really heartbreaking, some of the stories. But I've had friends of mine that have watched that, and then they get mad, and they're like, why don't they just clean their place up? And it's like, well, that's the whole point. That's why they're called hoarders, because they can't, for some reason, either mental or physical. They have a problem with that, and that's what they're trying to highlight. And it's like, it's not like, right, people that don't have that sort of affliction where they can do that. I have trouble doing that too myself. Is I get clutter built up, and I've been doing a little bit better getting rid of stuff, but I have my moments. So I watch that show, and that just reminds me not to go off the deep end if I can.
Yeah, my eldest son, who's in the autism spectrum, he's a hoarder also, and I think I have that kind of tendencies because of my father, and I think it's more of a learned behavior because my father kept everything, but when we were on the run, when we were younger, because he couldn't stay in a particular area for very long, he would literally up and throw things in a burn barrel and burn everything and leave because we had, the police and the FBI, and he couldn't leave a trail. So I think a part of it is me wanting to retain some of that part of my childhood that I couldn't keep when he threw things away because he had to throw things away.
I think that, when you look at the whole spectrum, let's suppose we started from the farm and, we were an agrarian society, and then we moved to the city, and then we still keep that mentality. There isn't a farm around anywhere that this isn't chock full of all kinds of things that people keep. Living in the city, of course, the storage space people took advantage of that. So now you may be living in the city, but you've got some place rented down the road where you keep your stuff. George Carlin did a tremendous comedy routine years ago about the more money you have, the more wealthy you are, the more likely to have more places to store your stuff. Some people store things on 3 or 4 different continents. So it's weird. We are acquirers. We really are. Yeah. Thank you.
I think part of it comes from the previous generation went through the Depression. I know my father grew up on a farm, and he went through the Depression, and to this day, he will not throw out a nail. If he takes something apart, he'll knock the nails out and save the nails in a jar. Just because you never know when you might need a nail.
And not be able to buy one.
And not be able to find one. And he can have, he's no problem him going out and buying a new box of nails. But he still won't throw a nail away. He'll pull them out. If they're bent, he'll take them down the cellar and straighten them. Put them in a jar. It's amazing to watch him sometimes.
I identify with that, having lived on an island years ago for many years. You never threw anything away because the nearest hardware store was a boat ride and a plane ride away.
Yeah.
So you kept everything, and you never, like you say, Ed, you never know what you're going to need. That screw washer. So we kept everything. So yeah, I can't do it now anymore because my whole house is 750 square feet. So I just don't have the room for it.
I guess I don't know, maybe, being a generation younger, I tend to think of, okay, if I'm not going to keep it, repurpose it, reuse it, recycle it, rehab it, what am I going to do with it? I'm going to throw it away. And where is it going? Into a landfill. And then what is it going to do? Depending on what it is, it may do nothing. Except maybe oxidized. But,
no, it's going to be there for the archaeologists. They're going to wonder, what the hell is all this stuff that we're digging up here? 1,000 years from now, we're leaving a treasure trove in our legacy.
Oh, so I should just go ahead and keep throwing these things away so that our landfills are time capsules for future generations of archaeologists.
Yes, you're going to
But
be
then-
the person everybody thinks we all were like, because of they're going to find all your
But
stuff.
then that's assuming that the Earth lasts long enough that we will have future generations of archaeologists.
Oh, the planet will last. It'll just be, some other species that eventually evolve to find it. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think perhaps the future archaeologists will come by spacecraft to this unoccupied place to study what we've done to it.
with ecologically sensitive spacecraft.
Talking about coronavirus, I was trying to figure out the difference between what it does and what a parasite does. And a parasite always needs a host. The planet, which is a living entity unto its own, has had parasites for years. The greatest of them have probably been the human race. So, we feed upon everything that the earth is. There's nothing that we use, nothing that we have is from any other place than here. And I think about all the drilling for oil and the digging for gold and tearing up looking for copper and all of the scars that this earth has. We are a parasitic group of folks. That's what we are.
Yes, we are.
One day we're going to have to, we're trying to figure it out now. One day we're going to have to try to figure out where to get more of what we need. Perhaps the most precious of them will be water and air. And right now, with everybody wearing masks, you kind of get a preview of what might be in the future. Maybe there's going to be a defiled planet to where survival won't be like it is today. Thank you.
Were you going to say something?
No.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something.
Before
Okay.
you get Doug, I'm gonna go ahead and log off. I've got my husband home, and I've got to get someplace else today yet.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, we're going to be wrapping up here in a few minutes. So.
all right.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys, for the conversation and stay healthy.
Yeah, you too. Good to see
You
you.
too.
All right.
Take
Bye,
care.
Margaret.
Adios, everyone. It was so good to see your faces and hear your voices. I'm not particularly lonely, but then, yes, maybe I am, because I enjoyed this visit so much. Thank you.
Hey, Jules, real
Yes.
quick. The money that you sent us, did you want that as a donation or as a membership?
Whatever you want to do. I thought I am a member. I'm maybe
Okay,
not.
I just wanted to make sure.
You use your own discretion. If you want to buy a couple of cigars with it, it's okay with me.
Oh,
All right.
hey, did somebody send us some books from our Amazon wish list? We received a couple of books that were on our Amazon wish list for the group, children's books. Train Your Dragon, or Teach Your Dragon Empathy, and Train Your Dragon to Love Himself.
What a wonderful thought. No, I do have the Humanist group on my Amazon Smile list,
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
and also my Kroger's reward.
Thank you
Oh,
again.
he must be the third one.
You are the other person.
Oh, okay. In other words, it hasn't gone over really great, right?
No, I haven't been able to get people to participate as much as we wished, but that's all right.
Well, you're probably making 12 cents a year off of what I do.
Yeah.
But 12 cents is 12 cents.
Okay. Goodbye now. Thank you.
All right.
Bye,
Did anybody
Jules.
else have anything else?
Bye, Jules.
No.
Yes. Now that Sean's mentioned it, maybe you ought to put that wish list in the newsletter.
Okay.
Because I absolutely refuse, unless I'm ready to die, to shop with Amazon.
Right.
I would rather
Okay.
order it from another local bookstore or from another bookstore that I know that is a brick and mortar that actually pays people a decent wage.
Yeah, I
Okay.
kind of figured that was probably why lot of people aren't participating in that either. So, and I get
'Cause
that.
I-
I understand
No,
that.
I've only bought one. Yes, I've only bought one thing from Amazon once, and it was because that was the only way to get it. Other than
Right.
that, I've never shopped at Amazon, and I don't intend to if I can help it.
Well,
So,
good for you.
I would. It's nice to put it in the newsletter so we can see it.
Okay, we'll do that.
So,
Yeah.
okay.
All right.
Because I love to buy books for people. I'd much rather buy books than anything else. So, I guess that's part of my clutter.
Well, and my intention with those books is to use them for some children's programming, and
Awesome.
maybe I'd like to do maybe something with the library, do a children's story time that focuses around humanism, and this Teach Your Dragon series focuses on things like compassion and empathy, diversity, and they're not religion based. So they're all very down to earth and cute books, and they have a coloring page series that's free. So that's something that I'd like to kind of work with,
All right.
I'd like to put that into play when libraries are open again.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for showing up today, and
Thanks for doing this.
yep, and we'll do it again, and we'll see you next time then.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Bye, everybody.